so that we can put it up on our website so that you can share it with others, and you can go back and watch it again if you so desire. Thanks for the folks that are doing introductions in the chat. We are so excited to see the diversity of perspectives that are joining us. Lastly, as people are talking, we're going to be really careful to not use shorthand alphabet soup, as I call it, because there are a lot of disciplines in the room. So make sure that if you've got letters, that you're using the full description of what those letters mean. And if you have questions while folks are talking, please just put them in the chat, and I'll be monitoring the chat so that I can jump in and ask on your behalf. So Tara, next slide, please. So we're going to start off with an overview of some of the programs that are happening across different organizations, mostly the Department of Corrections, but also Weld in Seattle. And we're going to share a little bit about that background with you first. And then we're going to get into what is really the highlight of our time together today, which is a panel of fathers that are successfully reunifying with their kiddos after incarceration. So I'm going to turn this over to Tara to talk about Strengthened Families.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us here. My name is Tara McElravy from Strengthened Families, Corrections Specialist. I've been with the program for about 8 years. And what we do is we work with incarcerated fathers during their incarceration for about up to 36 months prior to their release. And then we help them transition to the community, and we stay with them and help them as they get settled in until about 9 months after release. It's a very unique program for the Department of Corrections. We are one of the few that actually engage participants while incarcerated, and then stick with them through their journey back to the community and back to the family. We have lots of different types of families out there in fathering in different situations. And so we've learned a lot about the unique struggles that incarcerated families have, and particularly fathers. So yeah, it's we have at any given time, we have about 150 participants actively engaged in our program. And we've to date engaged just over 1,000 participants. So,
and Tara, do you recall from the fatherhood study, oh shoot, I just lost my question. A piece of data that you guys shared, and now I just lost it. Oh, I know. The percentage of fathers that are incarcerated that you guys are able to reach with the program?
Yeah. So Washington State Department of Corrections has about 45% of their DOC involved fathers, male incarcerated individuals or fathers. And with that comes with, they touch the lives of about 40,000 children and about just under 13,000 co-parents. So it's a really large population for the Department of Corrections with some really specific and unique needs. And you can tell just by those numbers that we're just not affecting, you know, the 45% of dads, incarcerated dads, but they also touch the lives of so many more people. So.
Yeah, thank you for letting me put you on the spot around that. And I know it is the desire of the department to increase and scale because it has just been so incredibly effective. Thanks, Tara. Tara, appreciate you.
Yeah.
Tara, next one. Okay, so we're going to move to the Parenting Sentencing Alternative Program, and Lynn, you're on.
Hi, my name is Lynn Stewart, and I am the program manager for the Parent Sentencing Alternative Program within the Department of Corrections. Basically, in about between 2010 and 2012, when the Washington State was facing a pretty severe economic challenges, and Department of Corrections was trying to come up with ways to financially either cut back or just change kind of the way they did business, they decided to come up with a program to help incarcerated parents who have minor age kids. It went through legislation and we were able to create two separate programs. So the first is called the Family Offender Sentencing Alternative, and that is the judicial side. So that's before they are actually sentenced to prison, or I should say in lieu of prison, they are able to be sentenced to 12 months of intense supervision. And during that time, they do, let's say, parenting classes, any kind of treatment they need, whether that's substance use, mental health, anger management, DV. And they also get family counseling that we provide. All of that is included in this 12 months of supervision and all aimed towards, like I said, parents, not just fathers, mothers as well, but parents that have minor age children. And then the second side is the prison side called the Community Parenting Alternative, which allows eligible individuals who are incarcerated, again, with minor age children to transition to the community up to 12 months prior to their release date on electronic co-monitoring. So this is our partial confinement option. At the same time, they're participating in the same types of family-oriented programming like parenting classes, family counseling, and any kind of treatment that's needed. Next slide, Taryn. So CPA and FOSA are all over the state of Washington, but we have 8 specific specialists that are trained and have experience in working with families and young kids. So we work hard to, we're trained in strength-based case management, and we work hard to work with other outside agencies like CPS, DCYF, and DSHS. We work collaboratively. Many of our participants that are transitioning onto CPA from prisons or even in the community have open cases with some of those agencies. And so we work together to make sure that their transition and the journey that they're going through is as smooth as possible, making sure that we're working together with some of the similar like requirements. DCYF might have the same requirements as the CPA program. So we work together to make sure we're not duplicating those services or making things harder than they need to be. We also love working with Strength and Families. We always feel extremely fortunate when we get an individual that has been working with Strength and Families in the facility. They apply and are approved for CPA. And so their transition to the community, they just have an abundance of support from their Strength and Family. They call them coach. So from their teachers, from their case managers, and then also from CPA, and then DCYF and DSHS. So together we have we help give individuals a really good chance at a successful reentry. 83% of our participants successfully complete the program. And normally I talk about this for an hour and they gave me 5 minutes. So I'm happy to answer any questions. There's a email address right there. But I'm happy to answer any questions or even speak to your individual agencies about anything additional. Thank you.
I had to turn my mic off because my Teams is beeping in my ear. We're going to shift gears now to the new Parent Navigator program. And Taryn Beeman, go ahead and share with us this really amazing new program that you guys are piloting.
Thank you, Ann. And thank you everybody for coming today. My name is Taryn Beeman, and I am a Parent Navigator with the Department of Corrections. The Parent Navigator is a new position. Me and my counterpart, Brenda Lopez, have been working inside the prisons just since last June. So it's a fairly new program. And we're developing the Family Reunification program. And this program is specifically designed to assist parents who are in the prison system who have open DCYF cases and help them navigate DOC and DCYF because they're both complicated and sometimes hard agencies to navigate, right? And when you're involved in both, it is especially hard. I was raised in the child welfare system. I had an incarcerated parent when I was growing up. I'm also a formerly incarcerated individual, and I also had my own DCYF case that I successfully navigated in 2014. And my counterpart, Brenda Lopez, also has lived experience in the criminal justice system and the child welfare system. Our program is designed to help identify and overcome any barriers there are within DOC, within DCYF, and a lot of times just between the two agencies. It can be anything from helping with visitation to just helping give resources and education to DCYF or the Office of Public Defense trying to work with their clients. We provide educational classes, dependency 101 classes. They're similar to the ones in the community. And that just gives the participants a brief overview of the child welfare system. And we have outside professionals speak via Teams to them and answer their questions. We try to connect parents with the Parents for Parents program before they are released in the community, so they have a parent ally they can work with when they are released. We help facilitate a lot of the DCYF meetings, like shared planning meetings, permanency planning meetings. And we really just try to, it's really individualized program, and it depends on the parent, their case, and what they want. So far, Brenda has served 110 incarcerated parents at WCCW in Gig Harbor. And I have served over 78 incarcerated parents here at Airway Heights. Our positions in this program is legislatively funded through June of next year. So our goal is obviously to get this to be a permanent program within the Department of Corrections and to expand it to have a parent navigator in every facility. And I've had the honor to work with 3 of the dads on our panel today, and it has just been an amazing year for me and my team. And yeah, that's the program.
It's an amazing new resource for families. Absolutely. Next one, please, is Jim. Jim Chambers. I didn't see you come on yet, but Dieter tells me you're
I
in
saw
the
him.
room. There we go.
I am here.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, I'll just share a little bit of my background. I served 23 years in our Washington State prisons as an incarcerated father. My youngest child was 3, and my oldest child was 13 when I was incarcerated. I got engaged in parenting programs super early in my time. We had some great leadership in DOC that was really pushing the envelope for fathers to be involved in their kids' life. And there was a big push for children of incarcerated parents at the time, and I think now it's starting to swing back that direction. But when I was leaving DOC, it was kind of lost its power. There wasn't a lot of talk about children of incarcerated parents due to many reasons, budgets and all kinds of things. But the leadership at the time when I was incarcerated started a program called Long Distance Dads, which I taught for 13 years while I was incarcerated. And then when they started Strength and Families, I moved into that and literally had to fight to get involved in that program because I had more than 2 years, and pushed to headquarters and asked if I can be involved in the program. And Tara interviewed me, and I became a teacher's aide basically for that program for my last 4 years in prison, helping fathers navigate all the systems. And now that I've returned back to the community, I continue to do the same thing. At Weld Seattle, I'm the recruitment retention manager, helping many fathers and mothers who are returning home. And we just started the 24/7 Dads program at our organization. So we're just moving forward with that. And then basically, I think that access for fathers is very limited for anything, especially for fathers who have civil legal issues. Because if you have a dependency, you're automatically assigned an attorney. You have all kinds of different rights. But if you're a father returning to the community who's been basically removed for their child's life just because they committed a felony and went to prison, not because they harmed their children or not because of anything they've done wrong, they're denied access on many occasions just because of their criminal history. And I think that we need to move in the direction of doing some civil legal support for people too. I mean, I literally just got a phone call from a father who returned back to our community who went through our Strength and Families program with Tara, and he was begging for assistance to get help to support him in a civil legal issue where he can't afford an attorney and there's no attorneys that will represent him in his community. And the other person has an amazing attorney that's just like pushing the issues with everything. So they're being denied access to their children completely. So I think that our system needs a lot of reform, especially around access for fathers. So
Thanks, Jim, for your leadership in that. You want to talk a little bit about Weld?
yeah, so at Weld Seattle, we are complete wraparound services. We have we actually are partnered with the city of Seattle and King County we have drug court housing, we have mental health housing, and we have regular clean and sober housing, which we provide over 80 beds for men and 20 beds for women. We also do life skills classes where we pay people to attend classes, 8 sessions, 5 hours a session. We pay a minimum wage for the city of Seattle. And then we also have digital literacy program, a Weld Works program, which we partner with employers, and we avoid background checks. We basically do drug screening, and then we send people out to work on what's called working interviews, and then they do 120-day or 120-hour working interview, and then they decide at the end if it's good for our member, if they like it, or if it works for the employer partner, then they can move forward with hiring, and then we just support throughout the process. We do a lot of work with DOC. We do a lot of work with Reynolds and the work releases there. We were doing a lot of work with Pioneer Fellowship House, but we've moved it. They've now have a grant that goes through North Seattle WorkSource. So yeah, it's an amazing program. Honestly, I started out as a support specialist, and now it's a blessing to be able to support our members as they come through the process. So, and I go inside the prisons and do all kinds of work on reentry. So.
Right, thank you. Let's see, Kathy, did you get your question answered? Yes, okay, we're good. All right, so we're going to shift gears to the Department of Children, Youth, and Families and the Child Welfare Program, and Melissa Hugendorn is going to talk to us a bit about what they're doing in relationship to incarcerated individuals.
Hello, everyone. My name is Melissa Hugendorn, and I am the Engagement Program Manager with DCYF. You've heard some of this stuff of how we're collaborating with DOC. Communication between DOC and DCYF has historically been a big problem. And we try new things and it works or it doesn't work or it works for a while. Right now, a couple of things that we're working on is there is the Securus program, which we piloted in Region 2, and that gave people who were inside the ability to contact their social workers, even if they didn't have money on their books, so that they could call and leave messages or have communications with their workers to find out about shared planning meetings, when the next court dates were coming up, talk about their service plans, and all of those kind of things, and family time visits with their kids. So now the next step, because we found that that was successful and worthwhile for everyone. So now the plan is to move that out to the rest of the regions. Another thing that we're working on is data sharing. And so one, we're working on an MOU with DOC. We do have one in place, but frankly, it's very old. That doesn't actually make a lot of sense or really assist us in sharing information and communicating effectively, so that our parents, and specifically our dads, can have MOU. Thank you. I broke the rule and I used
Melissa,
alphabet
30
soup.
lashes
Thank
with a
you,
wet
Nicole.
noodle.
MOU is a memorandum of understanding. And so it essentially is kind of like a contract between two agencies of how they're going to share information. So we are working on updating that. And we're also working on, which I'm really hopeful about, is a shared release of information specifically for family time visitation, so that it will limit the number of forms that parents will need to sign. And it'll just make it easier for DOC and DCYF to communicate, and hopefully streamline the process for each agency getting the information that they need in order to make sure that those visits are happening. So those are the exciting things that we're working on right now to help with the communication barriers that that exist at this point. And, you know, as things change, we will come up with other ideas, but hopefully the Securus will be really helpful. That's not hopefully, that it will be really helpful. But hopefully the shared release of information will be helpful as well. Also on the slide, we have a regional lead in each one of our regions specific to Department of Corrections needs. And so those are listed. We don't have one in Region 5 at the moment, but we will be getting one. So if you are in Region 5 and you have questions about incarcerated parents or resources, feel free to reach out to me. And I can get you connected or pointed in the right direction.
So, Melissa, before we move on, there was a question a bit ago about complicated families and step parenting and father role models and how we are supporting stepdads. And I said at the top of the meeting that, you know, we recognize that this is a really complex issue around supporting families that have men that are playing this role in different ways, and that biological dads are part of that focus, but so are stepdads. And so interestingly, when we went into the state of fatherhood study conversation with the Department of Corrections, the first question is, well, how are you defining fathers, right? Because many men are playing that father role for other children in their lives. And so the question is specifically focused toward the Department of Children, Youth, and Families about how we support stepfathers. But I just want to put it in that bigger context that we know that it's not as clean as, you know, bio dad and the needs of the bio father, that there are many men who play this role. And so, Melissa, do you have any thoughts about sort of this notion of how do we lift up stepdads as well and make sure that they're getting the support that they need? I think the sense from Deb, the question, who wrote the question, is that there may be not as front and center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's definitely a tricky one. So if there is a stepfather figure in the home, we should be assessing the family as a whole. So whoever is in that household, and providing services and support to the entire family, in order to maintain child safety, right? So in those regards, the trickier piece that I find, and I don't have an answer for, is the men who have been stepfathers for a long time and then say are incarcerated for a period of time or are no longer living in the home, but definitely have that relationship and bond with the kiddos. And so those ones are still tricky. So unfortunately, I don't have a good answer for you. But it is something that we're thinking about, and that I personally am passionate about dads and dad type folks relationship with kids and how that impacts really our community as a whole. So
Right, because those are strong attachment relationships often.
absolutely.
Kids that are really bonded to those men, and having that relationship disrupted is really hard on kids.
Mhm.
So thanks for talking about it. I mean, as with all of these issues, they're complex. They have lots of opportunities for us to learn together about how we support families really holistically. We say that it's very hard to figure out sometimes what that means in terms of how we have sometimes legal and funding requirements that get in the way of serving families seamlessly. And so really the broader complexity of those relationships we know are critical for those kiddos. So we get the opportunity now to hear from the real experts, which are the fathers that have generously offered to share their stories and have a conversation in front of you about what it meant like to parent behind bars and what the reunification process has looked like. And just an incredibly um, heartfelt shout out to Joshua for joining us from his hospital room. I mean, the what I have heard and what I have seen is that once dads get connected to this movement, um, they have such huge hearts to give back to help folks who are still in this process or struggling in the process of becoming dad and being involved in a meaningful way in their lives. And this group is an extraordinary example of that because they've had lots of hurdles to overcome. And I'm going to turn it over to Taryn, who's going to facilitate this conversation. And we'll try and leave a bit more time for questions, but again, just keep putting things in the chat as you think of them. And thank you, Dieter, for sharing that we have folks in Yakima that are interested in more work specifically for fathers. And just a shout out that one of the other things we do is hold community meetings, and we're planning one for October in Yakima. So if you're interested in those meetings, let Dieter know. And his oops, Melissa's email is now corrected in the chat because it's not right on the slide. Okay, last little bit of housekeeping stuff, and then Taryn, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce these extraordinary men and have this conversation. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ann. Thank you so much for partnering with the Department of Corrections. Like I said, it's just been amazing working with these guys. There's 107 people in this provider learning series right now, so I think that's pretty amazing. And I really applaud all you professionals for coming, and I want you guys to know that the parents who are in the Department of Corrections are very eager to work with you. Every day I meet dads who are just wanting to be a part of the process. And I also meet professionals trying to get a hold of their clients. So it's just amazing to help facilitate that and give these guys the tools they need to be an active part of that. And I've had the opportunity to work with 3 of these dads personally, and have seen a lot of tremendous growth in them. So I'll just get started and ask the first question. To please briefly introduce yourself, including your name, where and how long you were incarcerated, how long you have been released, the names and ages of your children. And we'll start with Mr. Leos.
Oh, damn. All right. Can you hear me?
We can, loud and clear.
Hello, my name is Adrian Leos. December 2021, I was incarcerated in Yakima. What's that?
You're good.
Okay, I was incarcerated in Yakima County and then transferred to Airway Heights Correctional Center. I was released September 2023 on the Community Parenting Alternative Program and graduated that in February 2024, in which I was released from DOC custody. I have a 4-year-old daughter named Adrian.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Amaya.
Hi, my name is Eduardo Amaya. I was incarcerated for 14 months. I have 2 daughters, Leah and Kalia. My youngest is the one I have a DCYF with. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir. Josh.
Hi, my name is Joshua Johnson. I've been incarcerated 5 different times. This last time I was incarcerated for a year and a day. I've been released since April 25th of 2024. And I have a beautiful daughter who is turning 2 September 6th, and her name is Freya.
Beautiful. Jose. You're muted, buddy. Jose, you're muted.
And
Can you
Tara,
hear me
if
now?
you could take down the slide, we can see them better if that would, if you could.
Oh,
take
yeah.
it, that'd be great.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. My name is Jose Gallegos. I was incarcerated for 33 months, 6 children. I man, had a DCYF case, and I was dealing with DCYF while incarcerated, and I was very fortunate to come on top, and I was released in July 10th of 2020. Released to the community. I hit the ground running, completed all the remaining services I had to get custody of my children back, got full custody of my children, moved to Spokane, Washington, in hopes of changing the scenery around myself, and it worked great for me. I'm now the foreman of my electrical branch in Spokane. I got out, didn't have my license, got it back, and just worked my butt off, and to the point where I got my electrical residential license for Washington State, and I'm about to be taking my journeyman test for Idaho, and be looking to be taking over as an administrator for the state of Idaho for my company as well. And yeah, I've just been very blessed, and the people that I was able to work with in the Strength and Families program, they helped me in ways that I just was not receiving help in so many other ways from people on the streets, counselors, other things like that. So it was truly a blessing. And now I've got 6 kids. Well, my 2 children who were in foster care, I got them returned home to me, and my DCYF case is closed. I'm married, and yeah, everything is going amazingly, swimmingly, and I just want to be a part of this so that I can contribute and try and help any other incarcerated fathers or people just experience the situation, and just try and show people that it is doable. It might be scary, but it just takes some hard work and effort and dedication to show that this is what's important to you. And I'm just glad to be a part of this.
Thanks, sir. Good stuff. Okay, next question. I'll probably just go in the same order to keep everything simple for everybody. Please tell us about your experience with family dependency court, including how the case was handled while you were incarcerated, how the case has progressed since your release, and what is the status of your case currently. So, Mr. Leos.
I apologize. I kind of wrote my stuff down, but at first it was really hard due to some errors that were made while incarcerated. My caseworkers kept getting switched, but gratefully my lawyer handled my case very well. I got my Zoom visits and was able to increase those visits. Then we moved to in-person visits at the prison, which was I gotta say, helped me get through my time. It really, gave me something to look forward to. I knew when I would walk in, I would see my daughter smile and she would run to me and hug me. And so that really helped me out. Upon release, I was visiting my daughter 3 times a week in person. And now I am on a 6-month trial before my case is closed.
Good work. Congratulations, sir. Mr. Amaya, go ahead.
While incarcerated, it was a little difficult. I did attend a lot of family Zoom meetings, which wasn't easy, but I got it to work. I attended court through video. Now, upon my release, it has progressed. I finished my parenting classes, and I am in an outpatient program, which I should be done with in a few months. I recently just got unsupervised visits, and my mother does have guardianship of my daughter. So here, hopefully soon, I can get a return home. I just need to find housing. Thank you.
Keep up the good work, buddy. Josh.
My case first started from the hospital. Actually, my daughter was taken right away from us at the hospital, which was pretty disheartening and kind of a hard thing to go through. I was battling addiction and found myself in jail. And I really realized that that was my time to get clean and get serious and get my daughter back. And it was actually more freeing being in that detox tank than I ever thought it would be, because it just made me see what I needed to do. And so right from then, I buckled down. I tried to get visits while incarcerated. I didn't have that much time. I only got a year and a day, so it was really hard to get everything, everybody to work together to try to get visits going on or get the things I needed to be able to see my daughter and stuff like that. Thankfully, I did get to work with Taryn, and he was actually able to navigate like between my DCYF officer and my other attorneys and myself and get us like in Zoom meetings in his office. And so we were able to kind of pull it together, at least in time before I got out. Since I've been released, I have nearly completed all of my services. I have a dynamic dads class that I'm taking, which I have one more graduation class to do. And then after that, all of my services will be completed. Let's see. And yeah, I was actually working. The next stage was trial to return home. But I fell off a roof at work and ended up breaking my leg. And so that's why I've been in the hospital, and the case is basically on pause until I can, care for her. So.
Good stuff, man. Jose.
All right. Sorry, what was the question again?
No worries.
Like,
it was, please tell us about your experience with dependency court, including how the case was handled while you were incarcerated, how the case progressed since your release, and what is the current status of your case?
how the case, man, it was just handled terribly. I've had so many social workers. I didn't have the same attorney for the first few court dates and throughout the process of it before they got it nailed down and got me an attorney and got me a social worker. And then after that, it was a nightmare. It was one of the most difficult things I've ever encountered. And I ended up receiving a sentence which required me to go and be sent to prison. And during that process, I had won my termination trial in prison. Before I had left the prison, DCYF said they were not going to push to terminate my rights because of the fact that I was trying to make progress, this, that, and the other, and the amount of time I was expecting to get versus what I got was different. But after it was all said and done, I didn't have any communication from CPS the entire time, really. I'd get a letter maybe once every month, or not once every month, once every couple of months, I'd get a letter from DCYF just stating that I needed to complete services that were not accessible to me. Like they wanted me to do domestic violence classes and stuff like that. And it wasn't accessible to me where I was. Like they didn't have those services in WCC or in WSP. I stayed dedicated. I wrote my children letters every week, even though I didn't get to see or talk to them. And there was court-ordered visits that I was not getting. And towards the end of my sentence, I got 2 video visits because right about the time it started. After getting released, I immediately took the necessary steps that I needed to complete my classes and the remaining stuff to complete my services. While incarcerated at WCC, I was able to participate in the SIF program with Coach and Ms. Farr, and I was able to get communication to DCYF through them that I wasn't getting anywhere else. And it was amazing. They helped me start getting my visits scheduled and set up for the video visits. They started trying to help me with the communication between me and my social worker because it was just after winning my termination trial, she had just completely stonewalled me at that point. Um, After being released, I completed the remaining services and I got full custody of my children back on the return home. And since my case has been closed since 2021, I was just overwhelmed by the amount of things that I had to do whilst trying to find a job, whilst trying to be able to find a residence for me and my children. It was definitely a lot. And now the case is completely resolved. I have full custody of my children, and I'm also parenting other children as well. It has just been a bit of an experience, I'd say.
Thank you, Jose. That's some inspiring stuff. Okay, next question, Mr. Leos. What were the barriers to you being a father and participating in your dependency court case while being incarcerated after your release currently?
My barriers while incarcerated was I wasn't able to be a physical dad. You know, what I mean is, yeah, I see her through video, and at some point she finally was able to acknowledge who I was, but I wasn't there emotionally, physically. But that's what I put down. I wasn't able to be a physical parent. Another barrier was I wasn't consistent because of technical issues in prison with the Securus app, or just not being able to set up on the outside party. After my release, there's so many barriers, but to be honest, they couldn't be handled. You know, if you're seeking a certain thing, like I said, I was able to overcome them. Any barriers that I have come across, I was able to overcome. There is a lot of resources out here in Spokane. I think it's one of the best decisions I made to move out here. And yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Maya.
Barriers are encountered while incarcerated. We're just not having enough resources to help like navigate the system until I found Mr. Beeman. Upon my release, one of the barriers is just I don't know, I'd just say like not being able to like get the help like housing or stuff that we really need through the social workers or people that, I mean, I guess there is resources, but I mean, I really don't have any barriers. You know, I just kind of try to move forward and just keep contact with my social workers and my attorney and stuff like that. But that's it.
Thank you, sir. Josh, what about you?
The kind of barriers I had while incarcerated was pretty much just the time it took to get people to be able to work together, like, and for our visitors to be screened and get visits set up. Because I only had a short amount of time. I was literally in jail for a month. I went to prison for a month, and then I went to work release for the rest of my time. And so it wasn't until work release that I really got everything rolling. But Taryn was able to help me get things rolling before I got to work release. And then after my release, what are my barriers? I think once I got out, I didn't really have many barriers, I guess, besides housing. Like, I have to have somewhere to have my daughter, obviously, and housing has been my biggest barrier. But other than that, I think everything else kind of came together. There's all kinds of resources, and such as where I'm staying is in Longview at the community house. Now I'm at Chess, and they have like employment services. They have mental health services, SUD treatment stuff, and they really work with you to try to get custody of your kids. They have caseworkers, peer support people, PDs, all that kind of stuff that work with you. And so I got lucky to get involved with that. So, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Jose, you're muted, buddy. You're muted, Jose.
Sorry.
You're
My
okay.
biggest barriers were housing, and honestly, that was my main barrier. Employment wasn't an issue. I was able to get employed right away, due to my skill set. But I mean, even being somebody who was employed and having a skill set and having a job, uh, being able to attain going to my appointments and going to required classes that still remained, um, and hold a job and do visits and stuff. It was a difficult thing, especially when, you know, most people getting out of prison, they're having troubles with their licenses, transportation, not having a vehicle, you know, and then just the being able to facilitate those visits and have stuff for your children and stuff when you are fresh out of prison. If you don't have support or the means of being able to do something or trying to make money or do something to support yourself and your children, it's the most difficult, scary, and embarrassing thing you can deal with.
Thank you.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, Taryn, can I just jump in for a quick sec?
Anytime.
Joshua, you talked about some resources in Longview. Could you just say them again slowly? Because folks are trying to capture that info. The resources
Yeah, I was
you
just
talk
trying to
about.
type it all. So, actually, I'm actually in Chess, it's called, and it's Community House Extended Support Services. It's more tailored for people that have mental health needs or have medical needs, stuff like that. And it's all bottom floor. It's kind of a medical facility. They do mental health treatment, SUD, all that same kind of stuff here. And then there's the other location, which is called the Community House on Broadway, and that is tailored more towards families. Like you can actually get your children while you're there. They have different rooms, bigger rooms for different size families. They have employment specialists. They have housing specialists. They have peer support workers. They have um, parent for parent allies. And then you get your own like your own caseworker manager while you're there to help you navigate all those things. And they require that you do mental health counseling while you're there and that you go through SUD treatment.
Thanks.
Thanks for sharing, Josh. That kind of goes right into our next question. So, Mr. Layouts, what kind of resources and support did you receive to assist being a father and participating in your court case while you're incarcerated, after your release, and currently?
My support group was thankfully my family. When I wasn't able to contact my caseworker or anybody, they would help me do so. My lawyer was an extreme help. I can't thank her enough. To think she almost withdrew herself from my case, I'm just grateful she stuck it out with me, and we are where we are now. Yourself, Mr. Beeman, you inside and out here, I appreciate being able to call you when I need to. My community parenting alternative case manager, who was Sherry Overholser, she was also extreme help. There was an incident where she advocated for me so much that she really saved me. She really saved me and helped me out a lot. And if my case could have closed if circumstances would have been the opposite of what they turned out to be. My employer, big support. They're willing to work with me for scheduling, for my daughter can go to daycare and I can go to work, be able to support ourselves. I'm gonna also throw out Revive out here in Spokane. Revive is a peer support, also involved with the justice peer support, and they really helped me out a lot. They were able to get me on my feet, buy me some clothes when I released. Even a DCYF was able to, when I would go visit with my daughter, they gave me vouchers, if I can buy some food to take, snacks. So what I'm trying to say is, if there's any resources that you may need help, there's always someone to ask, and all you got to do is be able to ask. At first it was kind of, oh, would they even help me? But I asked and they helped me, and it was really a big support at the end of it. And they continue to still help me, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, I hope you don't mind me sharing, but I remember when you were still here at Airway Heights, and you were bringing those very concerns to me, like who's going to help me? How am I going to get help? And I said, it's out there, man. I'll help. And then I remember talking to you maybe the first or second time after you were released, and you said, this time's different. There's just so many people out here that'll help. You just have to ask. And it's just amazing to watch all you guys get connected with the different supports. So thank you for sharing. Mr. Amaya, same question.
I would say a lot of my main support right now is going to be my family. My mother, she has guardianship of my daughter. I did get some help through the reentry coach. They helped me get hygiene clothes, work clothes, stuff like that. Then again, I met Mr. Beeman while incarcerated, so he's been a lot of real good help to me in and outside. Like you said, I'm grateful that I can talk to you whenever I need to talk to you, and yeah. Other than that, I've done my parenting classes and just doing my IOP right now, just trying to get through this, and hopefully here soon have my daughter home.
Okay, Edgardo, IOP.
Oh, it's intensive outpatient. Sorry about that.
Thank you. No,
Yeah.
no worries. We all do it. We all do it. It's human nature to want to do the shortcut.
Thank
All
you.
right, Josh, I don't know, you kind of already did it, but is there any other resources you wanted to share that helped you?
Well, intensive outpatient treatment, definitely. Calit's Family Health Center. I also did Dynamic Dads class, which is a parenting class. They also have another place here. What's it called? It's part of community house. It's called Awakenings, and they do like dad's classes over there and stuff. So, yeah, those really helped. I also got an OPD, and
Social
she has
worker.
been tremendous. Yeah, she's an OPD social worker, and she has been tremendous to find resources. Like, not only resources, but she'll come out to Longview and like take care of something if it involves something with my daughter's case. Like if it's bringing me FUD applications or whatever, she would bring it out and sit there and help me fill it out and get it turned back in. Because my case is in Vancouver, but I'm located in Cowlitz County. And so I've kind of had a lot of barriers with that. And that's been one really good resource. And then Core Health is another really good place. That's where I've been doing my mental health counseling. And they're also part of CHOB, which is the community house on Broadway. They're all kind of interlinked.
Can I jump in, Taryn, and ask a follow-up question here? Actually, a couple. Adrian, are you comfortable sharing the name of your dependency attorney?
I'm comfortable. I hope she doesn't mind, but her name is Rebecca Domchik out of Yakima County, and she has not only been very helpful, but she's done a lot, man. I can never be and express how grateful I am to her. But yeah, Rebecca Domchik out of Yakima County.
Thanks. You just put yourself back up upside down, dude. That may be a metaphor for life in reentry, right? Being upside down sometimes. So you also talked about sometimes it's hard to ask. Can I ask you guys to talk about that? If anybody has those feelings or why you have those feelings or how people could help you overcome those feelings, because I hear that from dads a lot. What's it about for you?
I'll say something. There's a, how would you say, well, a thought in my mind is like, oh, you're just doing this to get the benefits of being a single parent, you know, and it's really not that. It just, I just needed the help. But like I'm saying, what was going through my head was I was afraid of them thinking I'm doing this for another way out, I would say. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
You know, I don't want them to think I'm doing this just so I can get all these benefits, all this help, when really it's what I needed. Like I couldn't even go to my daughter visit and not be able to provide a snack when I first got out.
Mm,
Gratefully, gratefully they were able to help, and there's food stamps and whatnot. But it just, you know, I there's times even with the housing authority, like I don't want them to think I'm just trying to leech off the state. And like in my case, I'm working. I'm working, so I pay a majority of my housing. I mean, not to provide too much information, but I don't want to look like I'm just leeching off the state, you know. And
yeah, and those services are there for people, but I think I hear a lot of folks feeling like they're judgy, you know, that and that may be just all in us, right? Like it might be coming from how we think rather than maybe what folks who are providing the services think, but I hear that a lot. And so I just want the providers in the room to hear that and think about what can we be doing to help make it feel more welcoming. I mean, it was called temporary assistance for needy families for a reason, right? There's a gap there, something happened, maybe you need resources. That's maybe not a great example because a lot of dads don't end up getting TANF because of uh, complicated issues, but asking for help is, you know, the a hard thing to do for a lot of dads. Anybody else want to reflect on that? Joshua, you look like maybe you were going to jump in there.
Um, well, I don't know. For me, I've kind of plugged into as many resources as I could. So it wasn't really hard for me to so much ask for help, but actually getting the help with certain things is difficult, like such as voucher support. Um, like when I first got out, I didn't have a good job. I was just working at a restaurant, and I was trying to get a voucher so that I could get into a place. And I signed up for a voucher like, I don't know, good 6 months ago. And as far as I know, there just hasn't been any vouchers available. Now, my caseworker is out of Vancouver and I am in Cowlitz County. And so getting the Cowlitz County people to coordinate with the Vancouver is kind of hard because he doesn't, I'm trying to stay up here in Cowlitz and he doesn't really necessarily know all the resources up here in Cowlitz. And so if there was like a way to get the two different Cowlitz and Clark County, I guess, offices to coordinate together better, that would be a good way to fix that.
Thanks, Taryn, for letting me hijack you a little bit.
No,
It
you're
just-
good. No, it's
You just
great.
dropped that comment, and I thought it was worth exploring a little bit more. Edgardo, do you have anything you want to add about seeking support?
I believe like it's hard to ask sometimes because I feel like sometimes we ask and it's just hard for like I said, we're single fathers. Like I'm a single father to myself. So um I just feel like maybe they look at it like we're just I know we should ask, but me personally, I feel like maybe we ask, they feel like we're just asking for too much. But in that case, it's like there's so many resources out here that we should ask, you know, and sometimes it's just hard because like I've been asking and asking, and it just feels like sometimes we don't get that help, you know. So it's kind of difficult to ask when you're not receiving that help like we ask for, you know. So it's kind of intimidating to ask sometimes, you know. So I think that's just all the input I got on that, you know. Just sometimes it's just hard because we feel like when we ask, we don't get that because we're single fathers. And not to put women out there, but like if a mother asks, I feel like they get like because women are important and they're always on top, but us as fathers and coming out of prison, like I said, right now I'm in the outpatient program, and because of that, it takes so much time out of my week that I'm waiting for it to kind of die down a little bit so I can get a job. And it's just kind of like I don't have no income right now, and it's kind of difficult. But it's just like I said, it's kind of intimidating to ask when we ask, we just don't get that help. It's kind of difficult. But
Thank you for sharing that. That's shows your vulnerability and being willing to say the hard things, because I wish I could flip up the slide out of our fatherhood study that just absolutely affirms what you just said, because the kind of the top 5 reasons that dads say that they struggle, one is that they feel like the services are really for moms and kids. And that the last one on that list is not welcoming. I'm not even sure that I should go, or that if I do go, it's going to really be a good fit for me, because maybe it's not really tailored to men at all. And so that's a big challenge for us as a collective of providers to be thinking about. Dads do matter. You are important. You are super important to the life of your child and your kiddos. And your involvement in their life means that they're going to have a better time in everything they do. And so don't ever say, I know moms are on top. Moms are more important. Absolutely. All parents are important, because you bring something different than mom does. And so just know that you are super important, and we should be providing any support that anybody needs without judgment. And so if you're feeling like it's uncomfortable, that's not on you, dude. That's on us to be figuring out, how do we make it more welcoming? Sorry, I'm on a soapbox. I'll shut up now. Go ahead.
No, and I think
I had to say that. I had to say that,
no,
Edgardo, because you just teed it up so perfectly, because I hear this so much from dads, and it makes me sad. It makes my heart hurt that people feel like, well, I'm not as important, so maybe I shouldn't, or I'm just asking for more than. No, 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 no. None of that is the reality. The reality is that we should be doing more to reach out to you to get you the support you need.
no, I'm really glad you brought that up. And I think there's a lot of things. I think as men, there's sometimes it's hard to ask for help, right? There's like a stereotypical thing, like we need to be strong and work hard and make our own way. You know what I mean?
You mean our pride?
Yeah, our pride. Yeah. Also, I think within DOC, we get told no a lot, right? So sometimes we get told no so much we stop asking, right? And
Absolutely.
yeah, and
Yep.
any of the guys I work with, I say you need to get everything you can out of DOC. You need to get everything, all the help you can out of DCYF, right? Because you guys are part of those systems and you have to do a lot of hard work. So there are resources available to you. And then on top of that, reach out like OPD and all these other amazing places. So no, I think that was perfect. And
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure Jose had a chance to answer the last question. It was, what kind of resources and support did you receive to assist being a father and participating in your court case while incarcerated, after your release and currently, Jose?
The only support I got in there was from Coach and Miss Farr. They were by far like two of the most well versed in how to speak with DCYF, and also like how to talk to my counselor about what steps I should be looking forward to taking or looking into taking. The only resources that I ever received upon getting back into the community was upon release. Miss Farr had another one of the Strength and Families people. They met me at a Walmart, and they got me hygiene and some work boots and some stuff so that I could start my journey back into the work world. Well, that set me on the path that I'm in, and like right now I'm making nearly $140,000 a year from where I was. But the barriers, as Eduardo and the other guys were saying, is yeah, they're not welcoming. And it's also like the services themselves are sometimes so many hoops you have to jump through just to get to them. And it's scary, it's sad, it's also very, very like with our pride as men, we don't want to ask for help. And even when we do ask for help at that point in time, it just seems like, oh man, am I going to be judged for this? Am I actually going to get the help that I need? Or am I just going down another rabbit hole?
Thanks.
No, that's perfect. And it's so cool seeing the other side of that when I'm able to be a part of connecting people with all these resources, and those people want to help and they're there. So when you guys reach out, it's just beautiful. We are getting close. So I'm going to get to the next question. So Mr. Leos, how was your relationship with your child while you were incarcerated? How has it changed since your release, and how do you feel about the relationship now?
My relationship with my daughter while I was incarcerated was um very limited, through video visits and whatnot. And then when it came down to in-person visits, I was more of like the fun dad, temporary, come for 2 hours and just have the most fun. That's how, I mean, for me, it was the most exciting and privileged time to spend time with my daughter. But there was times where I would think, am I becoming a dad, or am I just, the fun dad that you could just come hang out with? But since then, now I'm daddy. She calls me daddy. It just one day I came home from work and she's like, "Daddy," and I was just like, "Anything you want, you can have. It's yours." You know. So just hearing her telling me, "Hi, daddy," and "I love you. Can you hold me? Can you scratch my back so she can fall asleep?" And can you cuddle me? It's really rewarding, and I am so grateful that she's given me access to her life and her heart.
I
So
I remember talking to you right after the Day with Dad event out here at Airway Heights. Didn't your daughter get to come to that?
yes, she did.
You want to talk about that a little bit? I just remember how like that was like I think the happiest I ever seen you, man.
Um, I think that was when we're actually that was the longest first time we were able to spend together. We spent 6 hours together. Um, she was grabbing my hand, taking me to these certain events, and she was like, do them with her. When she seen me, when she runs up to me and just like gives me a hug. Afterwards, she was like, "I don't want to leave. Am I gonna come back?" So, I mean, yeah, that was a really special day because that was the first time we got to spend more than 2 hours together, and
Yeah,
she did not want to leave.
that's beautiful. Mr. Maya, I remember also you really quick. I think you only had one in-person visit while you were here at Airway, and I remember talking to you after that in-person visit, and it's like a whole different person. Why don't you tell us about that?
I mean, it was really beautiful because when I got incarcerated, my daughter was 3 weeks old. So finally getting to see her and at her like just noticing who I was, because I did talk to my over the phone and I got pictures, but it was beautiful, just her like not like really knowing me, but when she see me, she just kind of ran up to me. It was just amazing. And like I said, it was just kind of difficult because my mother lives we live out here in Snohomish County, so it was just amazing being able to see her for the first time, and then after that being released, and it was just now everything's just changed. Like I go visit, and she just already knows who dad is, and it's just a really warming feeling, and just knowing that little person right there is gonna look up to you, and just it's just something that gives me motivation every day to do what I have to do to be able to bring her home, one day and just provide for her and give her everything she needs. It's really just an amazing feeling. Thank
That's
you.
beautiful stuff, man. Thank you. Josh, what about you?
So while I was incarcerated, at least at Airway Heights, and in jail, I didn't get to see her yet. But once I got to work release, I got 3 to 4 hour visits twice a week, and our relationship really blossomed. Because I was kind of worried about like her not even recognizing me. By the time I got out and stuff, and we grew really close there. And then once I actually got released and went to the community house, I was able to get 6 hour visits with her, where I had to actually change her all the time. I had to do like take her around the town and go take her on walks or take her to the children's museum here in Longview. And I think we just started bonding even more. And now she's just become a super daddy's girl. So I love it.
You didn't have to do those things. You got to do those things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. What about you, Jose?
Well, I got 2 visits the entire time I was incarcerated. DOC had kept denying my visits for some reason, for whatever reason, and my DCYF social worker made no attempts to do anything about my visits until Miss Farr and Coach stepped in and started pushing the ball back in their court, trying to see what we could do. And even though it was like finally starting to take place, I was releasing to the community. So getting visits in there, it was good, but I felt like it happening so late that my kids, they missed out on all that time. They didn't get to see me. They didn't know me for that entire time I was gone. And I had to come home and rebuild my relationships with my children, because it turns out the previous foster family that they had was not giving them the letters that I had been writing. And I'd only come to my attention after meeting their new foster family, and they brought it to my attention that the kids didn't know about them. And they gave me a shoe box full of 3 years worth of letters my kids never got to read or get read to them. So, needless to say, my visits, that it was a difficult situation.
Well, I'm glad you persevered through all that, man.
Absolutely.
Great work, Strength in Families. I just want everybody to know, I think we all need to look at visitation a little differently. I think too often video visits become in lieu of in-person visits, when really they should be supplementary, and too many times I hear professionals say, well, I don't know if it's a good idea for them to travel and see their dad in a jail. That might be traumatic. And I'm like, okay, but they're 2, and how much can they get out of video visits, right? And every case I've worked on where the parent and the attorney is pushed for it, it gets approved for at least some sort of in-person visit. So I think that's just one thing I want the professionals to know. We should all strive for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So another question just popped up, Taryn, about CASAs or guardian ad litem. Did any of you have relationships with a CASA or a guardian ad litem, and anything you would want to comment on, Edgardo? You're on mute, dude. I have to mute you because you got a lot of background noise.
Yeah,
There you
I've
go.
actually, I'm still to this day. She still comes to visit. Her name is Raquel from Casa out of Snohomish County, and I mean, it's been real helpful. That's pretty much. I think I get to see her on Monday. So just yeah, she's been real helpful though. She's just there to see how my daughter's doing, and just I'm pretty involved with everything I got to do through the courts and the people I got to see. But that's some of the resources that I do have is CASA too.
Yeah.
That's it.
Adrian, did you have a CASA or guardian ad litem?
I had a guardian ad litem, but
What was it like?
I'm in a different county from where my case is originally out of, so I can understand maybe what's the word? I can't even think of the word, but
The
I can
dis-
understand
the
them.
distance.
Yeah, the distance, the complications of, you know, being um more involved and, you know, but
So did they talk to you?
minimum,
Yeah.
very minimum. Yeah, just very minimum. I'm sorry. You know.
Yeah,
No,
and don't
you're good.
apologize. I mean, this is also a common tale. We've had dads say that the guardian ad litem never called them. And the case has gone to disposition and they never even got connected.
Yeah.
And so that's another message that is important to send around, you know, if folks are really focused on what's the best interest of the child,
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Like, I understand their role, you know, the best interest of the child, and you know, I've seen a father incarcerated and whatnot, but I kind of felt like in my situation, I was judged off of my paper, off of my criminal history, and maybe what other people's opinions of me were, and
Yeah.
I,
But-
you know, what I'm saying, I wish there was more of a uh what's the connection between me and my guardian ad litem. But recently we've spoken, and we're on the same page, you know. So, but at first I wish there was more of a communication.
yeah, yeah. Jim, I see you. One other quick question in the chat about connection to schools while you were incarcerated. Were you able to participate if you had a school age kiddo in any of the like parent teacher conferences or any activities through school?
My child wasn't in school, but the only thing that comes to mind is like they had what do you call it, Christmas presents we were able to send home, and the day with dad and build a bear and stuff like that. But as for her as an education, she wasn't in education at that point.
Yeah. Anybody else have school age kiddos that you got to participate in parent teacher conferences or anything? Nope. Josh was saying nope. Yeah. That's
Uh,
another one that we hear a lot of concern about, and particularly upon reentry too, you know, school by school, whether you can even help out as a volunteer with a justice background.
yeah, and I just wanted to add to that, and every parent that I've worked with so far, they either didn't know what the CASA or guardian ad litem were, and they didn't know who they were, and I really encourage them to get a hold of them. And all the cases where they have and started getting them in the process has just, all those cases have seemed much easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's a really big piece that's missed.
Yeah.
We have one more question. We
Agree.
only got 4 more minutes left.
Yeah, we don't have time for another question, unfortunately,
Okay,
because we've
no,
got
that's
4 minutes left. So
Yeah.
I apologize, but this has been a really cool conversation.
Heck yeah.
So last thought from each of you about what you would want people to know. Just a one sentence, one quick sentence. What would you want people to know about working with dads who've been formerly incarcerated when they're back in the community? And particularly involved in child welfare, what would you want people to do or know? Joshua, you want to start us off?
Uh, I would say just, I guess, plug into as much resources as you can, and maybe have avenues, you know, so that we can all actually take advantage of these resources, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's like the most important thing
So that's for dads. What about
for
for
me,
providers?
anyways.
What, anything that you want providers to know about? I mean, you've told them a lot. Any last one thought that you want to leave them with? It's okay if you don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know.
No
Adrian?
worries.
My thoughts would be to interact with them first before anything.
Yeah, before you make an opinion or make a judgment.
Because not just with, you know, I get that a lot, honestly, to be truthful. My extensive criminal history paints me to be a bad person, but if you get to talk to me personally, you'll understand who I really am.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Jose, one sentence, anything you want people to know about working with dads who've been justice involved?
We are people who are used to doing things the hard way. So don't be surprised if we're skeptical about things.
Love it. Love it. Edgardo, anything that you would want to say as a last one sentence?
I would believe just give us all a chance. We're dads and we have hearts too. Other than our being incarcerated, and we're not bad people. We just made wrong choices. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you all. So couple quick things. We do have some community cafes going on. One's coming up in Yakima in October, one's coming up in Seattle at Weld in September. We have another provider learning series coming up in September about early relational health. And Dieter has put the link to our feedback in the chat several times. Please, please do it. It really helps us. There is one question in the chat about gang violence and gang retribution and safety. If someone from DOC could address that, that would be great. It's a little off topic for us. And then Jim, do you have a last quick question or thought?
I do, just real quick. I think the one major thing that everyone needs to understand is I think that the caregivers and the parents of these children, incarcerated parents, have to educate everyone in their ecosystem about these child having incarcerated parents, because they are different than most other children. They need to be treated different, and they're at a higher risk than most other children. So educating the people that are in the ecosystems of these children about these children is very important, especially their school teachers, because I know that was a huge benefit to me participating in parent teacher conferences and making my children's teachers aware. And it helped my children throughout the way. 5 of my kids went to college, and so it's real. And children and parents that are in prison can still play a vital role in these children's lives, regardless of where they're at. We can pick up things that the caregiver cannot. So those are the important things I wanted to share.
Thank you, Jim. What a wonderful way to cap off this hour and a half. Lots of love coming to you guys through the chat. Hope you can see it. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for sharing from your heart. I know you guys all have big hearts. I've gotten to talk to you before and hear your stories. It's just so important to make the kind of changes that we want for people to be able to hear it from folks who have lived it. So please stay connected to us. People have asked about the PowerPoint. It will be going up on our website hopefully next week. People have asked about the recording. We don't have total control over that, so sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get the recording out, but we do the best we can with the folks who help us with that part of the follow-up. But just agree with you, Ryan. I'm just so impressed with all of you and the hard work that you're doing, and hope that we're there for you, and hope that the love of that child or those kiddos is really felt in your heart, because you guys have really worked hard to get to that place. One last thought. You got one last thought, sir, before we sign off? Jose, do you have your hand
Oh,
up?
I was gonna just shout out to everybody who's in here participating. You guys are greatly appreciated, even though we haven't gotten to get together too much just yet. I just want to thank everybody who's involved in this, and thanks for the opportunity to be involved in this. I'd like to thank Coach and also Miss Farr for asking me to be a part of this.
Yep, absolutely. And now we know where you are. We know how to find you. We have lots and lots of places where people are asking, how do we support fathers better? And so this is one of the ways that we help people to feel the motivation to do so, to feel the value to do so, and to problem solve with you about how to do so. So great last thought. And thank you so much for our partnership with the Department of Corrections. You guys are amazing to work with. Thank you so much to our dads, and thank you so much to Dieter Jacobs for running all that stuff through the chat and keeping us organized. And if you guys want to stay on the line, we'll look at the feedback. Thanks for doing the survey. It really does help us. It asks us for ideas for future topics. And that is super helpful for us. So stay tuned and come back. Thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful afternoon.